So, front pages of the daily newspapers to kickstart your day. Let's see what a couple of them are covering. And we start off with, as always, the Business Day. That's our first one that we seem to get. Business Day leading with SARS closes in on gold runners. That's what their lead story is. Agency secures court order compelling group to hand over documents. So the South African Revenue Service closing in on companies it believes are key players in the gold smuggling industry. An activity, it says, is bleeding the fiscus of billions of rands. Habib Bank liquidated. This is the embattled Habib Overseas Bank has been liquidated a year after the National Treasury placed it under curatorship over governance issues, which included allegations that it frequently breached South Africa's exchange control rules and facilitated money laundering activities. So that's an interesting one. You can find the details on there. The photograph on the front page, water everywhere. A person walks through flood water towards a partially submerged cars as the River Thames bursts at its banks. And this was in High London. So that's a picture out of the UK there. Food inflation has dire effect on poor. Low-income households have experienced a noteworthy surge in underspending on essential food items since October 2020 is what they're reporting. They have been forced to resort to cheaper alternatives, which often consist of processed and unhealthy foods as these food prices surge. Two-pot system faces hiccups. You can see that in the sidebar there. Complications have arisen with proposed legislation vital for the implementation of the two-pot retirement system because it contradicts provisions in the Divorce Act. So there you go. And then finally, top court to weigh health disclosures, and in what looks set to be a landmark case, the Constitutional Court will deliberate on the extent of medical information disclosure required for medical scheme members. So that wraps up your Business Day. Let's move on to the next newspaper now. And that is the Star. So interesting front page there, a sad one actually. Welcome to Gauteng, the kidnapping capital. Well, that should make us worry, fellow Gautengers. According to statistics, 1,800 people lost their lives in Gauteng, out of which 214 were women and 50 were children. Oh, man. All right, so these announced yesterday, these stats, and they were saying it recorded a sharp rise, Gauteng, in kidnappings, murder, and other forms of contact crimes, including robbery. It was revealed by the Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Tommy Mtombeni, in his maiden address since being appointed to the hot seat. So not good news reporting, certainly not on the front page of the Star this morning. And the other story that they've got there at the bottom, let me try and read it for you as I try and open this up again. But anyway, those are your main stories in the Star. This one is Joburg Water apologizes to residents for 10-day water outage. I know so many people who are struggling with this. By some grace, I've been eliminated from this, but everywhere around us, people have not had water for 10, 11 days. It has been a dire situation, and people are really, really seriously worried about the situation and if it spreads. And they haven't stopped apologizing, but I don't know what they're doing to resolve the crisis. It really is a massive thing. So Gauteng and Joburg Water. All right, let's move on to the next newspaper now. That, of course, is the Citizen. Cops crash 54,000 jobs. A directive by the South African Police Service that only original equipment manufacturers can now fix its broken down vehicles is going to cost tens of thousands of jobs and small businesses millions of rands, with the beleaguered service providers saying the blame lies with SABC. So that's what they are leading with there on the front page of the newspaper of the Citizen. So we'll leave that one there. And then finally, the last one is the Sowetan. And the Sowetan, how Zondo preyed on victims. Bishop's rape charges is what they're talking about. The court hears details about years of alleged sexual violations of two women congregants in a second case brought against controversial pastor. So that's what they're leading with. WhatsApp text can be legally binding. Be careful with that one. And fame is a drug, says Modika. And then finally, Bruce picks Tito as Zwane replacement. So there we go. And there you go. Also, Joburg water woes deepen. There's that protest that residents were having yesterday. Johannesburg Mayor, can we use your toilet and shower? That's the question on that protest billboard there. All right, that's the newspapers. Remember, visit sabcnews.com at any time, day or night. We've got you covered. All the latest stories, you can find them there. Also, interviews that are posted on this very regularly, always updated. And you'll also find podcasts there. Find all of the links to the radio stations as well as all of the SABC stories. That is where you will find us. But right now, let's find you after this. At 7 is your main news bulletin.